University, we're talking about Northwood University, was just like you go into a campus and then you're in like a a forest with buildings for universities, and it was really cool. So yeah, it's really cool. So hi
Oh,
everyone, I am Jim Gast, and welcome to Nola from Left Behind. I am joined today by Dimity Orlet of Pro Seniors. I'm having a moment here, Dimity. Sorry about that. But Dimity, I really appreciate you joining me today. We have something in common. I just found out that my son goes to the college that your grandfather just taught at. That's pretty cool. So Dimity, listen, let's get right into it because I think you have a lot that people need to know. So if you don't mind, take just a minute or two and just kind of introduce yourself, tell them, our audience and listeners, what you do and what you're all about.
well, thanks so much. I'm happy to be here with you, Jim. So like you said, I'm Dimity Orlet. I am the executive director of Pro Seniors. We are a nonprofit association located in Cincinnati, although many of our services are actually statewide, but we provide legal and long-term care advocacy for seniors.
That's you can't sum it up any better than that. And everyone, you need to listen today because what you're going to find out is Pro Seniors and Demity's group there, their team. Their first off, you're going to find that they're awesome, but they're often a secret and people don't know enough about it. So you really need to pay close attention. Demi, tell us about Pro Seniors and what Pro Seniors does, what the mission of Pro Seniors is.
Well, great. So our mission is to enhance the independence and quality of life of seniors. And really the value and belief we have behind that mission is that regardless of your age, as a person, we all deserve to be treated with dignity, to have a life of meaning. And in our society, unfortunately, just ageism is very prevalent. I'll admit I've only been with Pro Seniors about 3 years, and I'm still very much learning about issues impacting seniors, ageism. So I'm a new disciple, but ageism is the most prevalent and accepted form of discrimination, not just nationally, but globally. It's basically accepted. And so when you think about it, we're all, learning since we're young that, at a certain point of your life, you kind of, we have an expiration point to when we're supposed to like fade into the woodwork, or when we no longer have a value, or perhaps we're seen as a burden, or need to be cared for in a way that displaces our decision-making authority. And not to put aside the challenges that we all have in different stages of our lives, but the truth is that ageism really does have real negative consequences. You see the attitudes that we all have, and it's not just young people. And frankly, the ageism is negative in its impact on young people as well. You think about it, the kind of the assumption of, someone's young, they're not going to have, good ideas. They don't have the right kind of experience, but it's about like all forms of discrimination and bias. Let's look at what this individual has to offer. Let's get to know the person before we write someone off because of some type of characteristic that, is either immutable or, changing. We're all aging, right? So the philosophy I like is, or that you're hearing more is, aging is living. So let's get off this very common thought of it's a negative thing, and that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's our belief. And so much of what we do by way of, advocacy is helping seniors understand their rights. Seniors, their loved ones, their caregivers understand their rights. We help them, give voice to those rights, empower them to effectuate those rights, and then we also try to advocate for policies in general that are beneficial to seniors, or like stopping policies that are not.
Yeah.
And, it's been a real eye opener to me in the last 3 years. How often you can see, and some of it's well intended. For example, we just were successful, one of our legal team members, in a case where a family member wanted to get a guardianship over there. It was over a parent, and part of what we always will advocate for, and when you see other people who are advocating for seniors, or could be people with disabilities or whatever the case may be, is let's look at the least restrictive alternative. Because somebody having no efficacy over their life by way of making decisions, things like that, it really, when you think about it, what makes you have, be human? It's the ability to be able to make decisions, and frankly, even to be able to make bad decisions sometimes. We know we all do that. So anyways, we had a client who we were helping defend against a guardianship by a family member, a child. And part of the issue was we were saying, hey, she doesn't lack capacity. She doesn't need this anyways. And frankly, the family member wasn't interested in her best interest. And we were successful with that. But that's just one example. We see guardianships overused quite a bit. And frankly, we think the courts approve them when they shouldn't, because the idea that, well, we just need to protect these people. Well, there are a lot of things you can do to help empower the person with information and tools while not taking away all their rights to self-determination.
Yeah. So you're basically doing a deeper dive into the situation rather than just looking at it from the surface and superficially.
Right. And leaving the person with a meaningful life instead of having everything decided for them, and being treated like a child when they have capacity.
Yeah, you know what, and I think to myself, look, I love my in-laws. They're in their 70s, right, and they can't work Netflix really well, right, but they're fine in life. They do everything great. As a matter of fact, they're the best in the world. I want to say that. Hi, John, and hi, Gwen. I love you guys to death. But no, they might not be able to work Netflix. No, they might not understand their Medicare, Medicaid, as best as they need to, but they do well in life. There's no problems for them whatsoever. I mean, they're more vibrant than me sometimes, right? And so an organization like you, I could see how you could step in a situation if that was happening and keep it from happening in a bad way.
And some people maybe come to a point where they don't want to, or are struggling with, for example, managing their finances. So, we can help people, and there's information on our website to set up a financial power of attorney. And of course, you want to be careful to designate someone that is trusted, because once you designate that, it's effective immediately. But that person, that doesn't mean they need a guardian. They might be still fully capable of managing decisions around their living circumstances, things like that. They just don't want to manage their finances anymore. So there are a lot of good options.
Well, let's dig right into the very specific details of the services that you offer. So legal assistance. Tell me a little bit more about legal assistance, and we'll touch on the other two after that.
Sure. So basically we offer 3 lines of services, and one of them is our legal assistance program. And there's a couple components to that. The gateway basically to our legal assistance would be what we call our legal helpline. So that is a statewide assistance program. The only requirements for eligibility for our legal helpline assistance are that somebody is 60 years of age or older and resides in Ohio. It's not income-based. So that particular service, regardless of your income, you can take advantage of it. And what the service offers is, so if you would call that 1-800 number listed on the screen here, you will, so it's 1-800-488-6070. You will speak with one of our intake specialists who will get some basic information from you, an idea of the legal issue you'd like some guidance with, and you will be scheduled for a 30-minute free telephone appointment with one of our legal helpline attorneys. And we can talk to you about any civil legal issue. So this is like a limited scope assistance. So it's advice and information about your issue. But the goal of the service, and where it's really effective, is to help people get a sense, again, of like the nature of the issue, what their rights and options are in that situation, and next steps. So that could be, sometimes we are able to point out to folks information on our website, because sometimes people will say, oh, I'd like to get a healthcare power of attorney, or, so the attorney will help explain to them, is that how to do that. We have links on our website to forms, or even guided interviews where you can create a custom form. But if the resource they need isn't on our website, we can connect to other resources. But in other words, to get a game plan moving forward. Now, for some people, they might need more than like self-help tools. They may need further, basically extended legal representation. So that's where, based on the individual circumstances of the client, we will take a look at, do we have the capacity to have one of our staff attorneys, our in-house attorneys, assist that person. Now, with that, we will start taking a look at the individual's income, because typically those services are more like legal aid services, where because we have limited capacity, we're going to try to, provide that for people who really don't have other help available.
Sure.
A lot of those cases, we also focus on. It can be a lot of like Medicare, Medicaid assistance, Social Security assistance, things where private attorneys don't commonly handle those matters. So again, there's the lack of other assistance. Or we also will be looking for matters where we know there's a trend of a problem or issue where we want to be able to basically make a change by, law decisions and things that will be beneficial for seniors. So we look at that kind of holistically to see if we have the capacity to bring that in-house. If we can't, and we also have to restrict that to our 5-county area just logistically so that we can make appearances and things like that.
Say those counties for us right now, if you don't mind.
Sure. So it's Clinton, Claremont, Butler, Hamilton, and Warren counties.
Okay.
Will,
And before you go any further, if somebody was to call outside of those counties, would you be able to direct them to another organization? Okay.
Absolutely. So for folks who are, have limited resources financially, we typically, if we're not able to assist them, but that they need additional assistance, we will refer them to the legal aid in their region. Okay. We also, if that isn't a fit, we have a helpline referral panel where we have attorneys across the state who have agreed to accept referrals from seniors, and they're not employed by Pro Seniors, so they will, depending on the client's income, charge a fee. So if the client doesn't have limited income, it might be a full fee. But then there's also for clients with limited income, reduced fee, or in some cases even pro bono. So nice. We're always looking for more attorneys to join that panel, because frankly, there is a large gap in the need for assistance by seniors, particularly seniors of medium to low income, and the access for assistance. So that's a great way for lawyers to get involved. But so we have both that limited scope assistance on the helpline, and we do over 7,000 helpline calls a year.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, there is how shall I say, our demand for help exceeds our capacity. We're always looking for opportunities to build our capacity. But I was frankly, it was an eye opener for me when I came to Pro Seniors, because my background, I'm a lawyer by training, but previously I worked for about 18 years at the Cincinnati Bar Association, which is a great organization that supports lawyers in being the best they can be in serving their clients, which of course benefits individuals in the community. But my exposure there was primarily, most lawyers are in private practice. It's an extended representation model. So I had a perception about, well, how much really can you help somebody in 30 minutes over the phone? Well, actually quite a bit, because again, and we can connect people to other resources. But some of it is just helping people understand like the lay of the land, what options are. And again, we try to have a lot of great tools to help them then navigate. Like we have more than 50 fact sheets on our website about common legal issues we assist with, that we then can like email or mail after the phone call. That really, because of many of the issues, when you talk to people, I mean, of course, everything's unique. But on the other hand, there are common themes and topics that come up where we really know, like, hey, this is solid advice based on your circumstances that you would want to follow up on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. You know what, and I'm sure that we're gonna have to work hard to help recruit some more attorneys to help you, and non-legal as well. The non-attorney volunteers needed.
Well, so we have 2 other programs.
Yeah, let's talk about those.
Yeah, so we also have our long-term care ombudsman program, and that is a regional program, the same 5 counties I mentioned previously. But the long-term care ombudsman program, it's funded federally through the Older Americans Act. So every state has that assistance program. So our funding comes from the Department of Aging and then the state long-term care office. But we Pro Seniors hosts the program for, it's called Region 1, so our 5 counties. But no matter where you are in Ohio, there is an ombudsman program that will provide no-cost advocacy for individuals living in long-term care settings or receiving home care services. So those ombudsmen, our team, we field phone calls from individuals residing in long-term care or their, loved ones. Just some of it's like looking for, guidance, information, advice. But sometimes there are problems and issues with the care they're receiving, where the ombudsman can come and advocate for that individual. Part of it really is empowering the individual to know, okay, what is the mechanism for resolution or, bringing voice to this issue. Because sometimes, people in long-term care, they have a challenging health situation that's put them there. So it's difficult. They have some restrictions on their ability to, like get up and, walk down the hall and talk to the right person. And maybe the challenge they're having has to do with a dietary issue. But if they're mentioning it to the aide, that aide isn't probably the right person to effectuate the issue or the needed. So, and again, the ombudsman advocate for the client's wishes. So with it, and obviously we're not going to advocate for something that's, would be a violation of like the facility rules or something. But it's really, especially during the pandemic, there's been, really challenging in terms of all the restrictions on visitation that were hard, and really helping family members navigate that. So it's a wonderful service, and that service in particular, and the service I'll talk about in a minute, our Senior Medicare Patrol volunteers are so critical to us being able to increase our capacity. So for our investment program, we always are actively recruiting volunteers, and those folks will often help us with going to we call them regular presence visits at facilities. So part of it is just visiting with residents to make sure they're aware of this service. Because frankly, before I came to Pro Seniors, I didn't know what an ombudsman was. I didn't know that at no cost I can call and get someone help me if I'm having a problem. And so we have to create awareness. So volunteers help make those visits. Sometimes they can even help us if we have a complaint we're investigating, where we have to kind of go check like circumstances on the ground, if it has to do with, patient dignity or cleanliness issues, things like that. So volunteers are essential. And the volunteers, I know when I speak with them, find it to be really meaningful work. Oftentimes people are drawn to it after they've had a loved one in that setting.
Yeah.
They've used our services and they're like, wow, this can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to give back. Tell us about the Medicare frauds and scam protection.
Sure. And the only thing I would just want to say, one more thing about that, in terms of services, there's no age limit for those we help. It's anyone receiving those services. And occasionally folks, who are much younger will be in a long-term care. Maybe it's like rehab from surgery or a variety of issues. So that if you're receiving those services, regardless of your age, we're there to help.
Yeah.
The other program we have, and again, all these programs, roll up into our mission of enhancing the independence and quality of life of seniors. But our third program is our Senior Medicare Patrol. This is a statewide program. We, again, Pro Seniors host the Medicare Patrol for Ohio. There is a Medicare Patrol program in every state. So this is, the funding comes from the national level for the Administration for Community Living. And the Medicare Patrol program provides education and outreach to help seniors and their loved ones and caregivers understand what Medicare fraud looks like. So how to detect it, avoid it. If you have been victimized by Medicare fraud, how to then report it and going forward. So this is, there's like billions of dollars every year in Medicare fraud. And it's, obviously to the government, it's a bad thing because we're spending money on things that aren't legitimate. But to the individual, it's problematic because it can impact, first of all, a lot of times these scammers, they're, in addition to trying to be able to bill Medicare for improper services, or, they're gathering your private information, and oftentimes you're resold. So your identity becomes at risk. And then also when services that aren't valid are put on your Medicare record, it jeopardizes that medical record. So perhaps you go to use a valid service
Mm.
later, but they say, well, you already utilized the service. So it's problematic in a lot of ways. So this team goes out, they do group education programs and presentations. They'll do, you know, presentations for, anybody who's interested, but they also, all their teachings are really translate to any type of not just healthcare fraud, but scam, identity theft. So it's really helpful information. They can help you understand what are red flags, what are empowering measures you can take. And
Hmm.
I think so many of us now are more aware of, like cyber hygiene, just whether it's at your workplace or at home, you're getting all these texts and goofy emails. And what the goal is to help seniors feel empowered to know what to look for as opposed to feeling like just being so frightened to ever, look at an email or answer the phone. So
Yeah.
they provide a wonderful service. And when they are in contact with someone who's been victimized by someone doing Medicare fraud, they work with agencies like the Inspector General of Health and Human
Oh.
Services and the AG. And so the goal of the project is to they do the groundwork to gather the documentation with the beneficiary to report that information, and ultimately the law enforcement authorities are putting together the case to then track down and prosecute these people.
Mhm.
We're helping with that and passing it off. The crazy thing that I didn't know is most of these frauds and scams are like organized crime is behind this. At first,
Oh
I
yeah.
thought somebody kidding me, but it's systematic. I mean, there's a reason why. I mean, there's a whole infrastructure.
Yep.
It's there's a whole and sometimes the people doing like the calling or they show up at an event. The people they hire that are making the on the ground contacts often don't really understand what they're part of,
Mm-mm.
and so it's again, it's something really to empowering when you understand how that works and what to look for.
It's very elaborate. It's very elaborate. So, in any of these cases, any of your services, Demity, can somebody that is not a senior call on behalf of a senior,
Oh,
like a
absolutely.
friend or a family member?
Thank you for asking that. I forgot to mention that. So with one of the unique things about our helpline, legal helpline, is that we will schedule. So if someone wants to call on behalf of a family member, whether it's somebody that actually has an official fiduciary relationship or like what we say is a next friend, we can schedule that. And oftentimes the senior will say, and the senior is always our client, hey, I'd like this person to be on the call. Now, depending on what the issue is, at some point we'll likely need to get the senior's consent for that to happen. And we always are screening for conflict. So, for example, if a son calls and says, oh, I need an appointment to talk about getting guardianship over my father. Well, okay, the father is our client. That's an adversarial proceeding. So we're not going to do that, but we will schedule a call with that son to say, let's talk about alternatives to guardianship. Because oftentimes they've been told by somebody, oh, you need to get a guardianship. So they really haven't been educated on the alternatives. Now, after we have that call, if that's still what they want to do, they need to go get independent counsel. We're not going to pursue that. But oftentimes, it will be somebody just trying to help and get information. And we can do that. And that really helps us help a lot more people. So we absolutely will do that on the legal helpline. Our ombudsman oftentimes also work with family and other loved ones. They always will, though, get the consent of the client before they do that. Many
Yeah.
clients will consent. But again, we're always watchful of, we don't want to be manipulated by someone who really isn't
Right.
acting in the best interest of the client. And then another thing I should mention about Senior Medicare Patrol, you mentioned about volunteers before. That program also, we have volunteers around the state that help with that outreach. So we are anyone interested in that likes to do public speaking or just maybe go to events and help with literature disbursement. That's another great opportunity, and people really find it rewarding. We have actually quite a few volunteers. I'm thinking of now, like a handful who have retired from perhaps working in the healthcare field, um, that, and I think they understand and they've seen some of these things happen. And so
Yeah.
they want to be part of empowering and prevention. So that's really awesome.
I think we said before the show, I think you and I were talking that if you don't know if pro seniors can help you or someone you're looking for help for, if you don't know, you should call no matter what. You'd rather get the call than not get the call, right?
Absolutely. We all the staff. I mean, when I came to Pro Seniors 3 years ago, I mean, it's just I totally grateful to work with the team I do here. They're all here because they want to make a difference. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we're not the right agency to help, or if the client can benefit from additional services, we want to make good referrals as well. So
Yeah.
that's a big piece of what we do. And nonprofits generally, I think it's always a challenge to get the word out about what we do to all those who could benefit. Um, and I mean, I'm learning more and more every day. I mean, in Cincinnati, certainly, but across the state, there are so many wonderful resources and organizations to help. But oftentimes people aren't aware. So absolutely, I think it's always best to reach out and ask. I mean, our website has lots of great information. It's a great place to start. But we do know a lot of seniors and just people in general have challenges with accessing online resources. If it could be access to the computer itself or
Yeah.
internet access. And so we always want people to feel welcome to call us directly on the phone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so we put the number down here, right there. Sorry, right there, so that everyone would know two things. One, if you're looking for assistance, there's a telephone number to call and a website you can go to with lots of resources on it, as Demity said. But if you're looking to volunteer, also, that's a great way to start too, because you've got a contact form on the website for volunteering, and if you call the intake form, you're going to be directed to the right people if you want to volunteer too.
Yeah. And
So,
I'll just
yeah,
make the pitch too. If your organization or if you serve individuals who you think would like to learn more about whether it's, for example, a lot of times our legal team will go out and, be asked to talk about advanced directives. So like a healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, just for, again, planning, being able to plan, or perhaps, the biggest topic we get for calls on the legal helpline or helping people understand, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all those things that none of us want to pay much attention to till later in our life. And I mean, frankly, it has nothing to do with how smart you are or what you do as a profession. There are even plenty of lawyers. If you don't specialize in elder law, this is complicated stuff.
it
So
is. It
that is
is.
that's our sweet spot. I mean, we help with all civil legal issues, but that's our sweet spot.
Well, fantastic, Demity. I really appreciate it. Also, everyone in LinkedIn or on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll find a link to Demity's LinkedIn profile, so you can definitely go and connect with her there as well, and then you can message with her as much as you need to. Demity, I really appreciate you being here today. This was fantastic, and I have to say that. Before you and I started interacting, when you went to Pro Seniors, I knew what Pro Seniors was, but I never really had a grasp of it. And it's a service that is underutilized, right? Underutilized. So by all means, please call and go to the website or get a hold of Demity. Demity, I appreciate you being on. Next week, everyone, we have Peggy Grinke from CPN Legal. Peggy's just a fantastic person. You know Demity, right? Demity, you know Peggy.
She's a former colleague and she's a friend.
That's right. She's fantastic. She's actually upstairs from my office too, which is kind of funny. But
Really?
she's just a brilliant mind when it comes to legal technology and legal business processes. And the owner of she was at the Cincinnati Bar Association. She's managed law firms, and now she is the founder and owner of CPN Legal. We'll let her talk about all that next week, next Tuesday at 10:30 Eastern time. If you're not a member, Dimity, I think you are, but if you're not a member of No Law Firm Left Behind on LinkedIn, there's a link right there, or you can go to LinkedIn and go search No Law Firm Left Behind, and you'll find our group. It's an exclusive group. We post all of our shows there, and sometimes other things like that. Lots of member communications there as well. So please, by all means, go to join LinkedIn group No Law Firm Left Behind. Dimity, thanks again for coming today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's great. I really appreciate it. You're doing great work. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week.